Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. All right. We have citizens' request to speak. We have, I guess, no recognitions. Normally that's next up. But under citizens' request to speak, I'll just reiterate our policy here. I guess public input, public comment is for input only. It's not a question and answer session. Time for debate or dialogue session. Members of the school board will not respond directly to public comments that are made at this meeting. No specific action will be taken at this meeting in response to comments that are made or issues that are raised during the public comment period. If the board determines the action is appropriate, the action will occur at a future meeting. And then a district representative may actually follow up with you after the meeting. We recognize one speaker at a time. Only those speakers who are recognized will be permitted to speak. Individuals who interfere with or interrupt speakers, the board or the proceedings may be directed to leave. I should also point out speakers do need to be residents of the school district, and we have other avenues for non-residents to get their input to board members. So with that, we will turn it over to the first person who was asked to speak. Sue Katas of North Hudson has asked to speak about LGBTQ youth at Hudson. Since we only have two speakers, you have the full 3 minutes. So.
Good. I'm actually going to be under 3 minutes.
Okay.
Sue Katas, Hudson, and I want to say welcome to new staff. I'm sorry I didn't look up finance, but Tara Goner? Tara Goner. Hi. Okay. It's serious stuff. Hudson School District stands alone among area school districts as knowingly resisting recognition of and not supporting students who identify as LGBTQ. Suicides are 3.5 times more likely by LGBTQ students than non-LGBTQ youth. Having accepting adults in their lives can reduce the risk of suicide attempts. It is very important to have a show of support and acceptance for all students. This includes continuing to allow books in classrooms that represent students of the LGBT community and in our health classes, including a discussion about being gay. PFLAG is a national organization of parents, families, and allies for their gay, lesbian, and transgender family members. Recent meetings that I have attended have been just packed with Hudson District parents, grandparents, stepmoms, and aunts. Families seek support from PFLAG on how to deal with the Hudson School District, describing us as, and I quote, hush hush about transgender kids. Families describe the tenor and climate of the Hudson High School as guarded and quietly dismissive of their non-binary children, and they feel that it's an unsafe place for their kids. All middle school and high school young learners are figuring out their gender identity and whom they are attracted to for a relationship. Discovering gender identity may start as young as 11 years of age, and gender identity is not the same as having sexual feelings. Gender identity is on a continuum or a spectrum. One may feel more girl-like or maybe feel more boy-like. And you might hear a person describe this struggle as feeling different or not, or knowing that they're different. So, 4 bullets. Please read the Wisconsin DPI document that I handed out about safe schools for lesbian, gay, bisexual, and transgender students. Learn more about our GSA, Gay Straight Alliance clubs. There's one in the middle school, one in the high school, and maybe get invited to attend one. Declare yourself an ally tonight. I'm going to leave a bag of rainbow wristbands on the counter if you would like one, and invite a facilitator from the adult LGBTQ community for an in-service training to learn more. So let's make our schools safe and affirming. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much. Next up is Joy Knutson, who is a representative from the City Council, and she's the new City of Hudson liaison to the school board.
Good evening. Thank
Welcome.
you. Thank you, President Johnson. My name is Joy Knutson, and I've recently been elected to the Hudson City Council. I've lived in Hudson for over 30 years, and my kids certainly went through Hudson schools. I'm proud to be appointed by Mayor Rachel Connor to be the school liaison to the school board. So all that means is I'd like to help foster communication. I've already had a productive, informative meeting with Superintendent Ouellette and look forward to any other input from you. I look at us as collaborators, coordinators, and as elected officials, I know you have a lot on your plate, so I won't take any time tonight. No message to bring other than just to introduce myself. I won't be able to attend very many board meetings because I'm the chair of the Public Works Department, or Public Works Committee, and we do meet on Monday evenings the same week of the month. So I may not come often, but I do follow your topics in your meetings. Don't hesitate to contact me. Thank you so much.
All right, thank you. Thank you for your willingness to serve and look forward to working with you. All right, next up under reports, turn it over to Dr. Grambo for beginning of school year schedule and staffing enrollment updates.
Thank you very much. So yep, I'll do the beginning of year schedule and turn it over to Andrea for the staffing and enrollment updates. But this is an exciting time of the year. There's also the getting ready for the school year, so a lot of exciting energy. When we hit August 1st, it's always like, okay, here we go, and this is definitely the week of here we go. There's a lot going on. Wanted to highlight a couple of the important dates on the schedule. So from August 22nd through the 24th, we have Summer Academy. Summer Academy is optional professional learning for teachers and certified staff. We describe it as teachers, our classes from teachers for teachers. A lot of exciting learning takes place during those few days. On Wednesday, August 24th, we have our brand new staff coming to join us, which is awesome. Andrew, do you know what our number is right now for brand new staff?
63.
63, so that's fantastic. A lot of new energy we're bringing to the district. Then the next 2 days, all probationary staff come in, and a lot of fun energy then too. All teachers will be back Monday, August 29th, and then the day that we're all looking forward to, and parents out there, we know you're looking forward to this too, that is September 1st, the day all kids come back to school. So we're excited about that and looking forward to a great year. Thank you.
All right, any questions from board members on the beginning of the new school year that is coming up sooner than we realize, very quickly here? All right, then next up we have the update with regard to enrollment and staffing. I think I saw a grid here in preparation for tonight's meeting. Andrea?
Yes, so that's the elementary grid specifically. Enrollment, we project on a monthly basis, and as of, I think, August 8th, today, we're scheduled to have 2,088 elementary students, kind of holding our own from the prior months, a little lower than prior years, but definitely not a marked decrease as we've seen other times. High school scheduled to be 1,800 students, which is down about 30 students from the prior year, and then the middle school is scheduled to be 1,083, which is about, it's still down from the prior year as well. But at the same time, we are still processing open enrollment applications. We're still working through all of that. And so one thing we know to be true is that it won't be 2088 or either of these numbers on the first day of school. So we're continuing to monitor it. If you look at that spreadsheet, there's a lot of green, which means we're under class size guidelines. There are some red areas for sure. And we're looking in particular, at fifth grade at Hudson Prairie. However, at this time, we're planning to hold with our staffing. We still have some vacancies. So pivoting over to the staffing conversation, we just read an article last week that Madison School District's still hiring 193, something like that, teachers to start the school year. Knock on wood, I think we have 3 or 4 vacancies right now of teachers. Support staff, different story. We are undergoing right now an aggressive campaign to recruit new people to the district. We have referral bonuses for our existing staff, for any staff who bring someone new into the system. We have the signing bonus. We will be, pursuant to the board directive, issuing retention bonuses for people that are coming back as well. To all support staff, they'll be receiving a $275 retention bonus. So we're trying to look at that, but then we're also looking at communicating out our needs and then tailoring our ads specific to each unique individual position, right? So nutrition services, for example, we're offering free lunches for the workers and their kids if they attend the Hudson School District. School-age care, free childcare. So we're trying to come up with creative ways to sell the different positions, knowing that we are competing with everybody around us for these positions. It's a very competitive market. We are looking at everything. Tracy just created a video for us to utilize as well. That's on our website, and we're going to be continuing to share out at every event and be present at different events to try to staff the buildings to the best of our ability prior to the first day of school.
Okay, questions then regarding staffing, enrollment, or the grid that's up on the board? Yes.
Just one question on the Hudson Prairie versus Rivercrest at fifth grade. What was the rationale there?
Well, fifth grade at Hudson Prairie has recently, in the last week, jumped there. Like,
Okay.
he's had, I think, 30 enrollments in the last 10 days. This is a newer development. We haven't specifically talked, in the past, we've looked at once it hits 29, we can look at additional supports. But we haven't developed a game plan yet. We're still working on the specifics of the numbers. The Rivercrest is only one over class size guidelines, and you can see we also have a lot of green where we go under, and we kind of do a plus or minus of under and over the class size guidelines. But yeah, the Prairie at fifth grade is one that we are certainly watching closely, and I just talked to Joe yesterday, or on Friday, about that some more, because that's a concern.
So Rivercrest wasn't set at 28.5 because that number's been there for a while, or I guess, or Hudson Prairie would have been addressed earlier.
Rivercrest had been down until about 2 weeks ago to 27. So they were at weeks ago, it jumped to 28, but again, that wasn't something that would trigger, especially when you're going between 2 and 3 sections versus 3 and 4. We get pretty far below our class size guidelines. If we were jumped to 3 there versus Prairie 3 to 4, it wouldn't be as impactful. The problem we have is that we have about the same students as last year, but we have another section already. And so trying to look at a cautious utilization of taxpayer dollars too, at the same time balancing the different interests. My understanding at this time is that it would have to hit 29 before we would look at adding a section at this point. Instead, like something we did last year with North Hudson, was we added a teacher time as a support during the reading instruction, so that we would have a teacher kind of floating in and out of the different classrooms so that we could better support the students in that class.
So one more student would put it to 29?
Yes,
Okay.
yep.
Thank you.
It's definitely something we're looking at closely.
And the other one that looks like it's close is the Rivercrest third grade, because I think we had a question from last year's Rivercrest third grade where there was that whole, no, it wasn't Rivercrest, that was Prairie. Prairie was the 3 to 4 section issue, which you just addressed for fifth grade. Rivercrest, though, is that 2 to 3, which all the other grades are 3 sections. So is that another one that is looking does it need to get to what would be the next 60, I mean, or 58?
And that's a complicated question, only from the perspective is we don't have a budget beyond the 100 sections. And so that's where I think we'd probably have to talk as cabinet and talk to the board about getting additional dollars to pay for that. So my understanding is our budget was built on 100 sections.
And that's where we're at.
Yes.
Okay, gotcha. All right, any other questions? Hearing none, then we'll move right into teacher salary structure update. And rather than having a superintendent's report on that per se, we have a committee that's been meeting, and I'll turn it over to them, I guess. The TSS, as we understand it, that committee's been kind of expanded, and revised over the last couple years, so looks like virtually all the audience is standing. That's great. So go ahead and give us the latest.
Yes, thank you, Jamie. My name is Emily Sorenson. I'm a 7th grade math teacher at the Hudson Middle School, and I have had the privilege of being a member of the TSS committee from the very beginning with the creation of TSS 1.0. And with any system that requires change for implementation, there must always be time for reflection and evaluation. That was done by the TSS committee after 1.0, which resulted in the TSS 2.0 version. And now after 4 years of 2.0, the current TSS committee is here tonight to share with you the evaluation process and vision for a new compensation system. This committee is made up of teachers, both union and non-union members, school principals, and district administrators. We have a few committee members here tonight to share details in our process. Thank you for your charge to bring this group together to help keep and attract the very best educators for our students. I will now have our committee members introduce themselves.
I am Jessica Mullis, formerly 4th grade at Rivercrest in the new reading specialist at Prairie. I'm followed by Ryan. I'm 4th grade at North Hudson. I'm Shannon Sexy, principal at North Hudson at Bolton.
Courtney Weatherby, special ed at middle school.
Bill Schmidt, principal at E.D. Rock Elementary.
Patrice Stenning, 1st grade at Rivercrest. Eric Matson, middle school, 7th grade science.
Mike Ballard, principal at high school.
Jim Balloon, middle school principal.
Kristen Matheson, math teacher at high school.
So this screen kind of shows you where we've been, how we got here, but after 2 full cycles, survey results, which I think those of us on the committee have read, reveal that there's a resounding need for some pretty significant change. A few things that you're kind of seeing, deficits in kind of the big discrepancy between salaries and just trying to bring everyone back to a place where they know or can predict where their salary will be. Our weekly summer meetings have focused on creating a certified compensation system that will continue to put an emphasis on professional growth and impact on our district, while also giving staff a predictable salary path to assist in our priority with attraction and retention of quality district staff.
I will piggyback on her. I think I'm the next slide a little bit. There you go. Our work this summer has consisted of great conversations about how to disconnect the old TSS compensation system from the educator effectiveness component. We have, as you can see on the slide, analyzed comparable data, reviewed existing compensation systems in Wisconsin and Minnesota. We looked closely at their systems and talked about the pros and cons of them. We've had energetic and emotional conversations about what our hopes are as we create this new system, how to make it as fair as possible to existing and future certified staff, while ensuring it is one that will also have longevity and be sustainable. We've also talked about how the educator effectiveness system will remain in place. We talked about how we can ensure that that system doesn't lose its purpose, that it still motivates teachers to take pride in knowing our standards, being intentional about making professional growth, and that they will still take pride in their reflections and artifacts. Most teachers don't go into teaching to make the big bucks. We know this. We go into it to make a difference and feel valued. While being valued isn't always monetary in the world of teaching, it is important to know one's salary trajectory, and the last salary structure did not lend itself to that. We are hopeful, excited, and grateful that we are able to start changing the current salary structure for many reasons, and we thank you very much.
So, next slide, please. So, during all of our meetings, we spent on thinking about, like, well, what do we really value? When you're trying to create a whole new system, it's like going back to the core and to the roots here of what we really believe and what we value. And so the things that were brought up connected with our pillars, professional growth, leadership, and collaboration, were what we valued. And the guiding principles came out of our group of, like, what do we want to make sure that this system does. And as you can see there, it has been hit up by my colleagues here on the committee about things that we think that are really, really important. But also with this idea that with our roots of our guiding principles, along with our values, that we're creating an opportunity for teachers to grow in our district. We don't want to move away from what we really, really believe, and that is for everyone here to be able to grow as educators. And so just to give you a little insight too, like as I mentioned too, like this is a diverse, and you've got to meet a few of them tonight. I want to give a moment though to an administrator's point of view, because not only was this system, had some weight for our folks that are in it being evaluated, but also the ones that are doing the evaluating.
Hi, Shannon Sexy again. So I've had the unique opportunity, I was on this committee from the start as a teacher, and now I've kind of utilized the system as an administrator too. So I think when we started all of this, we had very good intentions, and we checked the boxes that that were in front of us. What we couldn't anticipate really are the feelings that came along with it. And the feelings have not all been positive, to be honest. And I feel like it's probably been a little more impactful as an administrator, the feelings of the heaviness of it. So what we're really trying to do is go back to the drawing board, and we appreciate the opportunity that you've given us to go back with this diverse group and have open conversations and get back to what this is really designed to do. It's designed for professional growth, collaboration for our teachers, and we really want this to be a draw for professionals, and we want it to be a one that keeps our professionals here. So, thank you.
And so our work continues this fall. We are going to make sure that now that we have a vision, we're going to try to make sure that our work is focused, deliberate, and reflective to create this new system that supports our guiding principles. And our goal is to work very hard and hopefully have something back to you, a blueprint to you, hopefully in January. So now I'd like to thank you for your time, and I'd like to open up for any questions to anyone in our group.
Any questions? Yes, Heather.
Can you back up to the tree? Please. So.
And maybe it's inherent in professional growth. See in words is excellence. So can you talk a little bit about how, as you're thinking about, yes, supporting teachers to grow, but also wanting to be able to reward excellence, how that piece plays in recognizing that it's very hard to measure?
Definitely, and that's something we've seen throughout this process too, because I mean, for years now, we've been saying effective is a great place to be, and our system should show that. We haven't found that to be the case in terms of movement. But the excellence, I think how we defined excellence in terms of linking it to performance and pay to educator effectiveness didn't account for all the variables, right? I think excellence in my mind is continuous learning. It's the growth, it's the collaboration. There's other pieces other than a simple evaluation, not a simple evaluation, but one evaluation tool. I think what our goal with whether it's quasi-steps, quasi-lanes, any kind of movement professionally would be to, and Dave started the work a couple weeks ago with the committee, identifying what will grow that will lead to educational excellence. We talked a lot about our pillars and linking it back to our mission, vision, values, is how do we link all of it together that will result in excellence, because we know it's not just an evaluation. It's all the other things that the teachers are doing in and out of the classroom that we want to have a more comprehensive view of what excellence can be in this district. Does that answer it at all?
Thank you. It does. I think, and I'm so glad that you are the folks having this conversation and not me, because you know who among you is the best teachers. I mean, hopefully you're all good. But what I would love is for us to land at a system where you look around and you see colleagues and yourselves being rewarded when you are really teaching and getting the very best out of our kids. And that, probably if you figure that out, you won't be teaching here anymore because you'll be on the national speaking circuit, right? But I'm glad that that's at least part of the conversation, because it is, I mean, it's so hard to measure, and yet we all know that it's there and that we need to figure out a way to get at it so that we really are rewarding teachers who are bringing out the best in our kids, because that's ultimately, I think, what to me, excellence would be, right?
And how do we
Yeah.
get it, at it from different perspectives, but also with those guiding principles, to me, a big piece is predictability. It's hard to recruit staff if they don't know where they're going to be 10 years from now. And we don't have any vehicle with our current system to articulate that. So I think transparency, predictability, it's those principles that we keep going to over and over again. If we have the roots of that leading into the professional growth, leadership, collaboration, we will get excellence, as the district has been excellent for how many years? I mean, historically, it just will add an element of collaboration that I think was missing, and growth that was missing with the original TSS 1.0 and 2.0.
That's what I was just going to say. I think another one of the unintended consequences are folks kind of closing their doors and being just a little more shut off, where we need them to collaborate. We need to find out what our best teachers are doing and have them share that. So I think that's one of the hopes of redoing it. And also, we've talked about teachers, fewer and fewer teachers going back to school for any kind of credits at all. We've seen that just tank since this started. And we don't want that either. We want our teachers to go out and find things that are new and upcoming and things that they can do in their classroom too. So that's a part of the work too.
And, all right, Rob, you have a question, and I think Dave had his hand up before we get to, all right, high school principal. So Rob, go ahead.
So in the light of collaboration and excellence, one of the biggest complaints that I've heard about TSS has been teachers feeling as if they were competing against other teachers. And so how big a component is that conversation to the overall conversation?
I'll speak to it, but you guys can also speak to it. I mean, I think Shannon, Emily, and I can probably, and Dave, speak to it more because we've been on it from the beginning. We know there are no quotas. We know that you guys act on the board-approved percentage increase or the negotiated increase with the union prior to any determination on where people are placed. We just can't convince anyone of that. We know that to be true, but there's a perception that that's not the case, that there are quotas, that if someone gets distinguished, that someone else doesn't get it. That's corrosive, right, in an environment where you have to look across the hall and collaborate and work together. And so I think eliminating that and reconfiguring it in a way that's positive and, again, transparent, less subjective, more objective, I think those things are what we've talked a lot about at the committee. And just to highlight, too, this fantastic group that were willing to come tonight, super appreciative. We also have another about 15 people that are members of the committee as well. So it's a big group that are doing a lot of work, and these guys gave up a lot of Wednesday mornings this summer that the district's very grateful that they were able to do that.
All right, Dave.
Thank you. Just real quick to that concept of excellence, it's a very good question. A lot of the guiding principles and the concepts here are about a path to excellence, not that outcome of measured excellence. So how can we inspire teachers to go down a path that will increase their competencies and their ability to draw out that excellence in our students? It's not in here, but one of the guiding principles that sort of has been, I would say, an umbrella principle is the idea of being very deliberate with whatever that might be. So when we talk about professional growth, that would entail a teacher sitting down with their administrator, whoever evaluates them, and saying, okay, this is my plan for professional growth, and talking about those intended outcomes. Even those intended outcomes may not be the final measure, may not be measuring test results or educator effectiveness ratings. That's still implied in the system. It's just what part propels you forward and then what part becomes that outcome measure.
Okay. Principal Ballard.
Yeah, I just wanted to kind of touch on the topic of excellence as well. I just completed my second year here, and I started around the time of 2.0. And as I tried to learn a little bit about what this was going to be all about with the new system going in, my perception of how things were going to be received actually ended up being quite different than how they were. I think Jim had alluded recently that if you told a particular teacher, you are really, really good, you're very, very effective at all 6 of these standards, but in 2, 3, or even 4 of them, you are absolutely distinguished. Anywhere I've been prior in my prior 18 or 19 years of administration, that would have been a wonderful conversation. When you think about the topic of self-efficacy, and you heard some of our teachers today share about how they don't necessarily go in it for the money, but boy, does it ever feel nice to be told that you're doing a really nice job. 3 or 4 distinguished out of 6 standards is awesome, right? But here they leave with this feeling of, I didn't do quite enough. I'm still kind of a failure. I have 2 or 3 that they don't think I'm there yet. And I think that that's kind of what I've noticed culturally is that really, that's hurting us. It hurts it hurts the ability to collaborate. It hurts to have a relationship with your fellow administrator who I'm trying to coach on a professional level to become better. But there's this feeling that they didn't quite do enough. And so I think when we talk about excellence, we have to be careful with what we define it as, because if we had a building full of teachers who had 3, 4, 5 distinguished out of 6 standards, we would be absolutely excellent. But they're not feeling that.
All right, Jim.
And I just want to say to everyone here, thank you. This is an awesome opportunity to demonstrate to the people that we care about and we work with every single day that we're listening. I am so excited. I am so excited that we're having this moment right here in front of the Hudson School Board. So again, from someone who moved to this district 21 years ago after 4 months in the job and say, I want my children here, I thank you for this, because I think today we're taking a step to improve our culture for the folks that we care about. So thank you very much.
Mr. President?
Yes, Gary.
Funny you would say that, because I think this is a huge responsibility, and thank you all very much for trying to address this and overhaul and completely change probably the system. So thank you, and to all the folks who couldn't be here tonight. I'm sure they really wanted to be, but you're giving up a lot of time, and I appreciate your expertise. Thanks.
Yes,
I would just say again, thank you, and large group, very important work, much appreciated. It's good to see, like Shannon mentioned, she started out in teaching, moved up to administration. I've always been proud of that in Hudson, that is an opportunity. I like seeing a teacher there that Speyereisen, that was with my children years ago, so still involved, so, teachers with experience and newer teachers as well, thank you very much.
Yes, any other comments, questions? Yes.
I just wanted to add that a lot of excellence can't be uploaded as an artifact into our educator effectiveness. Excellence, Andrea and I have had some amazing conversations that it's a conversation in the hall. When I hear Mrs. Dunning talking to a first grader and the way she talks to that kiddo, the way she resolves the problem in 2 minutes, that is excellence. It's not always like the credit you can get, the tangibility you can get, the artifact you can upload. It's the good stuff going on in our hallways. And sometimes that's not always seen and can't be put into a document.
And just real quick too, in terms of the timeline, this is, as we said, January 2023 is what we're shooting for, and we're working really hard, and it's going to be a Herculean effort to continue to really, now that we have the concepts out there, and we've been working hard all summer on the concepts, to start putting it into place. Like, what will it look like in order to better attract and retain? And it's all of them that are going to help us do the work.
And just one final thought too, I know we have to mention all the pieces that have been uncomfortable over the years, but I just want to let you know that moving forward, and we also have, our union is been very supportive and involved in this process as well. We want this partnership, we want things to be positive. We are not, at this point, we will learn from our past, but we are definitely looking forward, and we're very excited to do this work and really retain some of these amazing teachers in the Hudson School District. So I really thank you for your time and appreciate it.
Yeah, I want to thank you again for your work. And again, this subject's been around for, 7 years, but there was actually 2 years of work before, at least 2 years of work before that, in which the whole system was set in place. So I don't want to denigrate all the work of the people from 8-9 years ago either. I just know that all we want to see, keep good people in spots. We want to see, our kids learning and our teachers feeling proud of what they're teaching. I think, we've got a timeline here of January. I was just wondering if it might be also, possible if, whether it's October work session or November work session, getting some kind of, because I just hate to see a lot of work being done and then, it gets to a point where, well, now, we're not ready to give a report, which is fine too. It's progress and, there's a lot of work that goes into it, but also making sure that there's, given feedback so we, stay on the mark, so to speak.
Definitely. And I think would fully expect that. I also love the collaboration between administration and the teachers and the board. I love the engagement that occurs because I do think it's so valuable for our staff to also see this, right? To see that it's not administration coming out and saying, this is going to be the new proposal. We're having dynamic conversations. I loved how Jess referenced it, emotional and, I forget the other word you used, but it was great. I mean, it's pay. It's close to people's hearts. But we can do it together, and we're going to do a really good job at it. And so kicking it off for the school year, this was our first step, the work this summer, and then kicking it off to the board tonight. This is the first time teachers are hearing of this work. I'm guessing there will be some views of the presentation over the next few weeks. And then that will prompt that further analysis, which then will, I'm sure, probably October would be a perfect time for an update, and plan to bring additional teachers back too for that presentation.
Great. Yes, Carrie.
To that point, will this be a live document then? Because we didn't have access to it.
Yes, it can
Okay.
be. It was kind of evolving today.
No.
So, yep.
Okay, thanks.
All right.
Mr.
Okay.
President,
Yes, Heather.
One question related to that. I know one of the things I've heard from some of the teachers who have talked to me about TSS and the committees is they kind of roll their eyes and say, well, it was all predetermined. I mean, they kind of have this belief that the committee was just for show. And so thinking about, what are the plans? I'm assuming there are. How will you all be making sure that your colleagues, as much as is possible, are hearing directly from you, like, this is really happening, give me your feedback, so that at the end of the process, they believe that it was truly a process led by you, as opposed to something predetermined?
Yeah, okay. I'll come back. So that's a very good question. I've had plenty of colleagues that have been asking, like, hey, when are we going to hear? We know you're doing something. And so we kind of wanted to wait until after we met with you tonight, and then work with Andrea to come up with some type of, is it going to just be a visual? Like exactly what is that information going to be? But definitely want that information to go out to our folks at the beginning of the school year. Yes, allowing for that time also in there while we have people from every building that are a part of this committee, making sure that those folks are getting the feedback as they are attending these meetings this fall. So,
We
thank
did
you.
talk about, at one point in the meeting, about staff surveys of, yes, that we would potentially, as we're starting to develop some of the specifics, be gathering feedback. Because even if we go to, and we're not going to do just a strict steps and lanes anymore, but something along those lines, we want to get feedback through that process from other people. Because the staff surveys that we did this spring and we did TSS 1.0 were very valuable. And some things we can do, some things we can't do, but we can all analyze it, and we can tailor the questions to try to figure out how it will support our guiding principles and how do we do it all together. But we do plan to reach out to staff this
Yeah,
fall.
because another piece too, as we were talking about this, is, going to be that transition, right? And just making sure that everyone can find some value in this new system. And so that's where it's going to be important, getting feedback probably from everyone, because there's maybe things we didn't think of as ways to make sure that everyone has some way to grow in this system. So, thank you.
All right. Great. Anything else? All right. Thank you very much for that report. Thank you for your participation. Much appreciated. All right. Next up is the action portion of the meeting. I'll entertain a motion for the consent agenda with the as expressed on the board and in your materials.
Mr. President,
Yes, Rob.
move approval of the consent items and that the Chief Financial and Operations Officer be authorized to pay bills in the amount of $1,296,607.16.
All right. We have a motion, a second. It's consent agenda, so it does not require any discussion or allow any discussion. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say nay. The ayes have it. The motion is approved. Next up,
Mr. President?
by the way, that was motion by Rob, second by Carrie?
Yes.
Is that right? All right. Since I've been asked by the board secretary to make sure we
Yes.
make a note of that in the meeting. He's watching, I understand. By the way, Tim, get well. All right. Go ahead.
Can I just make a comment?
Yes.
I know we generally only comment on retirements, but I think we would be remiss not to comment on the departure of choir director Mr. Hayes from the high school. I never had children in choir, but I have attended a number of choir concerts and musicals over the years, and the talent of the kids is outstanding. I wish Mr. Hayes well in whatever endeavor he is pursuing. He is an incredible talent and will be profoundly missed.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you, Carrie, for that comment. Yeah, I guess we all probably could echo that anybody who's attended a concert probably can speak to that. All right, next up is on the, I'll entertain a motion for approval of the second reading of the teaching and learning. Basically, this was policies, and procedures in the 342, 343 through, I guess, policy 346. And then some of these other, many of them were deletions because they've been replaced by newer programs. And of course, Title I is a federal program, so that's always evolving with federal law. So is there any further comments you want to do on this? Andrea, I know when we did the first reading 2 months ago, it just got missed on the agenda from July.
No, my understanding is that there haven't been additional modifications, right, Dave? Is that?
Great. No modifications from the last reading.
And before the last reading approval, there was a work session in which specific questions were asked as well, and opportunities for suggestions for changes would have been there as well. But given that, is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
All right, motion by Carrie, second by Bob. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed say nay. And the ayes have it. Second reading is approved, and it's now our new policies that will be, I suppose, adjusted on the school website at some time in the next 30 days, hopefully, so incoming students will know kind of what to expect in these various areas. So next up is the certified. Looking at Andrea, is that going to be you?
That is me again, yes.
All
So both the next two handbooks. So Certified Staff Handbook, I know Sarah Jameson was here in my absence at the July work session to kind of walk through some of the highlights. Not monumental decision or changes in the handbook this year. There was just no need to do that. Primarily, it was an update. I mean, some of the, and really laying out some of the changes, for example, like the overload pay. We're increasing the overload pay substantially. We needed to, because people were making more money supervising lunch than they were teaching another class. So that needed to be updated. Our sub rate of pay, some different rates of pay there, but then also the layoff language, we modified that. Those are the primary substantive changes.
And I know at our last work session, when this topic came up, there was questions about table of contents. That's been, somebody's gone through that.
It's actually auto-populated once we accept all the changes.
Okay.
Then we'll update it to be reflective of once the redlining's all gone. Otherwise, it's going to show wonky between the, or show incorrect, or be incorrect between the redline version and the clean version. So that was our attempt, is that we just weren't updating regularly the table of contents until it's the final product. But it will
Okay.
be.
All right. And I know for those people that follow, Certified Staff Handbook is now set, looks like 71 pages now.
It's a lengthier document, but still, I think like 30 pages less than like River Falls School District. We try to keep pretty succinct and really cover those topics that, as a new person coming to the district, what do you want to know? What do you need to know? What are
Right.
generally the terms and conditions of employment that are helpful for you to know as you start your job?
Excellent. Yep. Well, we always want to be, competitive with our neighbors, not mentioning any names or anything like that.
Oops.
So I'll entertain a motion to approve the Certified Staff Handbook for 22-23 school year.
So moved.
All right, motion by Bob, second by Carrie. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, nay. The ayes have it. Next up is the support staff handbook.
It's me again. So there, nothing again radical, and even in this one, I don't think we modified the layoff language. We did at the certified, but not the support staff. It's updating that language, making sure it's consistent reflection. We try to align the support staff handbook as much as possible with certified staff handbook. If there's not a reason for a difference, why do we have one? That's kind of the perspective that we take on it. So nothing earth-shattering, but certainly it's always an exciting time to start looking at these handbooks as we start the next school year.
Right, is there a motion to approve the support staff handbook for 22-23 school year?
So moved.
Second.
Heather, motion. Rob, second. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed say nay, and the ayes have it. Next up is the elementary parent handbook.
Again, we went over this at the last work session and talked about the changes at the elementary level. Primarily, they were policy changes to update and match our changes to our board policy, and then some procedural changes related to primarily nutrition, and then some updated curriculum information as well. The handbook table of contents have been updated, and those same policy changes are reflected in the middle school parent handbook.
Okay. And I know besides the fact that Andrea was presenting the staff handbooks and you're presenting the parent handbooks, two different totally type of handbooks, right?
Yes.
One's kind of more terms and conditions of employment and so forth, and the other one is more informative, parents understanding what the rules.
Information, a one-stop shop for the information they need.
But it is very important that parents have access to information. This is going to be, it's on the school websites, but it's more than just a procedure of checking the box or checking off a signature, because it is important that parents understand, all aspects of their students' learning and, what they can expect from our schools, our teachers and administration. Is there any further questions from board members on the elementary parents handbook?
Mr. President?
Yes.
Just a comment of appreciation, and I know this change is a few years old, but so much more likely as a parent that I'm actually going to read something that is good to look at, and so thank you for that change that was made a few years ago, and I know we're updating images, it looks like each year, but I really appreciate having this not in a policy-looking document, but in something that, you actually want to flip through, because as much as parents we want to read everything, we make choices. So let's make this be the thing that parents choose to read. So thanks for your effort on that, Tracy.
Is there a motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
All right, from Kate, motion from Kate. Is there a second?
Second.
Second from Rob. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed, nay. The ayes have it, and the elementary parent handbook is set for 22-23 school year. Our last action item is now the middle school student family. Dave, what's the main difference from prior years? And if you could explain the difference with the elementary school handbook, given the fact that the middle school is 10 pages longer.
Sure, yep. And really, that is just a matter of style and preference. The elementary team likes to have it all in there to give all the information in one spot. Middle school takes a more minimalistic approach to just give the necessary information that's required. If you remember, we actually looked at the middle school handbook at a previous meeting, approved it, and then realized that there were some changes that needed to be made. So we're bringing this back for reapproval to reflect those changes, primarily the policy changes and the nutrition service changes that are reflected in the new version.
Yep. And I don't mean to make light of it, because again, it is important stuff, and as we discussed in the work session, if you still have some outdated reference to policies and so forth, you could say, well, we haven't had this come up in 20 years, but the first time you go to your handbook, there's going to be that one off in 20 years and it'll be wrong. We want to make sure it's right. So I appreciate the efforts to get it right and to get this reapproval. Is there any further questions from board members? Okay, I'll entertain a motion to approve the middle school student family handbook.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Heather, second by Bob. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, nay. The ayes have it. I'll now entertain a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Motion by Carrie, second by Rob. I really like the fact that all the motions and seconds were by people of different gender, I believe, so that just made it very clear for our secretary who's watching, I think. There was a difference there. So anyway, all those in favor of adjourning the meeting at 50 minutes indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed, nay. The ayes have it. We are adjourned. Next action meeting is next month following the annual meeting.